Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to the Whole Story Podcast. This is your host, Amanda Troxel for now. And I have the most amazing, handsome, super special guest today on the podcast, none other than my now husband, Zohar Livron. And we are so excited today to share the whole story of our wedding. So we're going to start from the beginning and take you through the whole journey and just share the story of our sealing our sacred union. I hope you enjoy. And so I want us to start with the first time we ever talked about getting married, which was after a mystic revival sound ceremony concert, which was almost a year ago now, which is mind-blowing. And it's our favorite local band. One of our dear friends is in it. And it was similar to East Forest, where you lay down on a yoga mat and you just listen to this live band play that has all these different instruments, plus sound bowls, plus singing. And they're walking around the room and just marinating you in the most beautiful music. And it was such a profound experience. And after that night, I shared something very vulnerable. And I said, you know what I was thinking? That I would love for this band to play at our wedding. And Zohar, without hesitation, said, I was thinking the same thing. And that was the first time we ever actually talked about marriage and getting married. And that night was just one for the books. It was so amazing. And fast forward, that band ended up shortly thereafter pausing on their music, which we were absolutely devastated. But we held the faith and prayed for their reunion, and it could not have been more divine timing. Literally last night, 2 days after getting back from our wedding trip, they played their first live set to spirit welcome us home. And yeah, it was they didn't play at our actual wedding, but it couldn't have been more perfect to come back to Austin to integrate that whole ceremony, our wedding ceremony, with our favorite live band and some of our close friends. It was so magical, such divine timing, and it just shows another little mini story of having faith and trusting. And yeah, it was absolutely amazing. And so we got engaged in December, and there's another episode, the whole story of our engagement, which is super fun. If you haven't listened to that, definitely go listen. And so we were planning a bigger wedding later at the end of this year, 2023, because we have so many other trips planned for this year. We were thinking, okay, we're going to go to Costa Rica and then maybe Guatemala and then Israel. And we were just like, later in the year, sometime we'll put together a wedding and it'll be amazing.
Just postpone the planning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're like, this is way too much to think about right now. But we'll just enjoy our engagement for about a year. That sounded fun.
I think a part that happened to us that maybe a lot of people could use is the fact that we didn't want to pollute the bliss we were in with the engagement with logistical thinking and planning.
Yes.
Let's not start thinking about, why do we do this? What do we do if we don't invite? Let's just enjoy this happiness right now and celebration, and think about that part later.
Yeah.
Which was surprising because I didn't know that a lot of people ask the second you get engaged, well, when's the wedding? As if the second you get engaged, well, all right, let's get to the logistical planning now, where enjoy the celebration of that moment.
Yes. Yeah, we hadn't even literally thought about it. We were just in such bliss from our engagement moon trip from Hawaii, and so excited about the future. But I could feel when I started to attempt to think about planning this big wedding towards the end of the year, it was a stress. And so I just set that aside and surrendered it and just trusted that things would all come together when they were meant to. And shortly thereafter, I'll never forget Zohar telling me something from the depth of his heart, saying, "My love." Or maybe I want you to say it, but
What?
this one.
Oh,
And yeah, tell me your thought process on that in that moment of saying this.
yeah. I said, my love, I want nothing more than to call you my wife. Let's get married in Costa Rica. And the week-long festival in Vision can be our honeymoon or wedding celebration. Or for me, it goes back to that original idea of, I feel that there is a lot of pollution of celebration and planning a celebration. So there's this beauty of just celebrating and let everything else fall into place. And we get to how it did.
And boy, did it fall into place. Oh my God.
Yeah. And we already had family coming in. We're already meeting in a place we love. We're already going to a festival you love so much. So it's an event of celebration, obviously. And after celebrating a lot in life, I realized that celebrating or being in a party or being in a festival doesn't feel as good to me as when it happens when you actually have something to celebrate. Some milestone, some achievement, some event. So I thought, well, why not do this? Why not connect these dots and actually have an event that we celebrate there? What could be better than the occasion of a wedding when we have already a family there?
Yeah.
Friends. So, and I love that you were just, without even thinking about it, you're like, oh yeah, this is a great idea. Let's do that.
Yes, I had a full body soul yes to that idea, because everything started to click into place. It felt as if spirit was speaking through you, and all of my wildest dreams were coming true to get married in one of my favorite places.
Baby, that's everything I said.
Accurate. Yeah, just returning to one of my favorite places on the world,
I'll use
Costa
that if
Rica.
you ever disagree with me. I'll say, baby, this is spirit speaking through me.
Use it sparingly.
Okay. I never used it until.
And then when I started to think about it, my cousin was coming. I'm gonna plug it in.
My sister was coming. We had a friend that just happened to live in Ivita, which is the city where the festival was in. And we had a friend that we thought would be perfect for officiating the wedding, who was coming from California. So
yes, it was
the full crew.
It was so perfect. Yeah, one of my best friends, one of his best friends, his family, my family, in the most beautiful setting right before a week-long festival. I was like, oh my God. But this was literally about 2 months before the trip. And so we just laser focused on, okay, what are the things that truly matter and are the most important? So obviously a wedding dress is important, and and we went straight to the place that we buy almost everything in our entire life. Like, why would we look anywhere else but Amazon? And so I ordered a bunch of dresses. and tried them on and modeled them for Zohar. It was really important to me because I didn't care as much that Zohar loved the dress. He's my stylist, in case you didn't know. And I'll never forget the reaction of him seeing me in the dress that I ended up choosing. He's a generator in human design. So the sounds that he makes when he really likes something are super evident. And he was just over the moon. He loved it. It had this beautiful slit in my
beautiful abs,
which Zor loves. But it was classy and elegant and simple, and it was just beautiful. So I think there's a lot of culture or conditioning around weddings and the insane amount of money that goes into making this day quote unquote special. But when you really boil it down to what truly matters, it's the love and the union. And that was a thought that came up so many times. I'll share many little stories. For example, the day of the wedding, something spilled on my dress, and I tried steaming it out and blow drying it out, and it just wouldn't come out. And the thought was, what really matters in this moment? Me and Zohar, our union, and our love.
Wait,
and
this is the first I hear about it.
yeah.
I didn't even see it.
It was water. It was clear. So it wasn't a stain, but it made a funny shape in the dress. Yeah, and it was, to me, very obvious. But I tried what I knew to try, and none of it worked, and I just surrendered. I'm like, this doesn't matter. What really matters in me, I was just so committed to not being stressed on any level, because I've seen brides before in the planning or the day of be so stressed, and that just never made sense to me, never resonated with me. This is the most beautiful day of our lives, to make the most important promise we'll ever make. What really matters, and it's a very few simple things. And so I surrendered that, and then somehow in the pictures it disappeared, and it was almost maybe a little mini test of nothing is going to get in the way of me and my joy and my happiness and what really matters on this day.
I don't think it's even you mentioned the concept of money. I think money is the translation of the stress that people are in, right? Because if it's just, oh, you just put in a certain amount of money and everything happens beautifully, okay, but it's the idea of just ridiculous things that people do. Oh, they stress. Who do we invite? Oh, we need to send invitations. It's 2023. Who sends paper letters ever? Except like we get these invitations for wedding. Why? Send an email. It's just the funny things to me that people do. Oh, we need to go find a dress. Oh my God. How do we find a dress? How do you find regular clothes? It's just funny things. Or the arrangements of the flowers, or whatever it is. People just stress about everything. And because of the stress, then you have, when there is demand, there is supply. Because when you have stress, you have people trying to pretend alleviate the stress by charging you money for it. So the money thing is not even the problem. It's the stress that is the problem. That's the core. People think about it as an event to display to the world, as opposed to an event to really mean something to them personally, deep down inside. As a couple.
Absolutely. Yeah, and even just dabbling and doing some research for things for the ceremony in Costa Rica, the most simple thing was 4 times what it normally is. And it's just, horrible how they prey on people who are stressed and want to make this day special, but just make it so astronomically inproportionate to
disproportionate.
Yeah,
a piece of wood to hang flowers in was $1,000. What planet are you on? I could stop in Home Depot and make
which we almost did. Zora was like, I'll build it myself, which is such a Zora thing to say, and I appreciate that so much. Okay, so let's see. Let's get back to the story. And yeah, another reason why I was so excited, because this was, I think, my 6th time back to Costa Rica and my 3rd time back to Envision. So it all felt like it was falling into place. And then the next big thing that I wanted was a videographer. And so we had been to Costa Rica together last year to visit a conscious community. And one of the guy who gave us the tour of the community is also a photographer. So I reached out to him. And then he connected me with another woman who was in all of these different Telegram groups, very connected to the community of photographers there in Costa Rica. And she ended up connecting me with the videographer that we used, Yam, who was amazing. And he actually is currently in charge of the permaculture project at that same community that we toured. So it felt so spiritually aligned to have a videographer that has similar visions and values. And he was just a sweet soul. And he was in a band that played at Envision that we got to go see. And
that was really good.
Yeah, it was really, really good. Spiritual rock.
I'll look at the name while you're telling us.
Yeah. And so that was probably one of the most important things to me, is to capture this moment where we can go back and watch the video annually. I would like to do on our wedding anniversary, just to relive that moment and memory. And then I reached out I Googled a hairstylist in Uvita, and I found this woman who, when I saw her picture, I had this emotional, spiritual connection. It was very interesting. And I reached out to her on Telegram, and she was so connected in the community. She connected me to this amazing woman who made me a flower crown of real flowers from local there in Costa Rica that turned out so beautiful. And then she also was connected to 3 other conscious communities that I didn't even know about in the area. And it turns out she was the one that we'll get to in this story when we were really in need of help, who I reached out to, and she literally saved the day on our wedding day. So I'm just so grateful for the synchronicities and the connections, and the community there was super welcoming.
The band's name, by the way, is Matthew Human and the Human Revolution, which is what you're trying to do, Human Revolution.
The Human Revolution. I love it. Yeah, so look him up. It's really great music. And then, okay, we'll talk about the cake and the flowers, and then we'll get into the actual day. So the day, there's just something about being in the vibe frequency of faith, trust, fun, flow. And in Costa Rica, it's extra easy because everyone's in that vibe. We experience so many synchronicities. For example, the very first woman that we met, literally in the shuttle, taking us to our car rental right when we landed, had lived in one of the conscious communities.
She was part of starting.
Yeah, and had been living there for the last several months, of one of the communities that the hairstylist had told us about. So I got to ask her a bunch of questions, and that was already a huge synchronicity, an amazing meeting. And then the day of the wedding, we got the idea just on our way to breakfast. There was this watermelon stand on the side of the street with the hugest watermelons we've ever seen in our life. And I thought, oh my God, we could have a watermelon cake for our wedding. How amazing would that be? And I YouTubed a video really fast, and it was so simple to make. And so on our way back from breakfast on our wedding day, our wedding cake,
the biggest one.
Yeah, we picked the biggest one. It was huge, and it ended up feeding us every single morning the whole week we were there. It couldn't, yeah, day and night. It could not have been more perfect. And my cousin said, imagine this was a sugary cake and every day just because it's there, we'd be eating it. And yeah, that was just not the vibe. And so we went to a market and got fresh fruit, berries and mango and blueberries and blackberries and strawberries and Zoar. Oh yeah, and cute little flowers. And somehow this Airbnb literally had everything that we needed. There was this huge, beautiful plate, huge plate with little tiles that in the light looks so beautiful. And I think you had who had the idea for that?
Yeah, it was standing on the wall or above the fridge.
Yeah.
And it was, we could probably use that. And then we just brushed off the idea because it was just ridiculous. And then when I was looking for different plates, I was looking at that plate again. Yeah, why wouldn't we use it? So just cleaned it and used it.
Yeah, and so Zoar and my friend Marion and
everyone were working out the cake. We have all this video and pictures of the operation of building the cake. It was so cool because everyone were doing it together. It felt like a bonding exercise of the family and friends.
Yeah, well, I was getting ready in the bedroom and it turned out so beautiful. I was just, in awe of this spontaneous, beautiful cake project that turned out so amazing. And then 2 minutes from our Airbnb was a florist, and they just happened to have
The florist that she told you.
Yeah, it was actually the one that I got recommended by the hairstylist who just had recommendations for everything. Was 2 minutes from our Airbnb. So after getting the watermelon on the way home to start preparing for the ceremony, we found this florist and they already had 2 beautiful bouquets that matched
amount.
Yeah, the color palette of the women's dresses, which was a soft pink. And we set them up. And I think, what day did we decide? The whole time we were planning to have the ceremony on the beach. And the day before the wedding, we were going to go to the beach and find the perfect spot. Yeah, I think it was literally the day before. And when we got there and watched the sunset and the amount of people that were on the beach and how logistically slightly complicated it was to get to the beach, we decided to possibly have the ceremony at the Airbnb because it would be way in a more controlled setting. And it was a beautiful Airbnb with a pool and in nature, in the jungle. And the more we started to think about that idea and we talked to the videographer, everyone was in agreement that that was the best idea. So literally we didn't even have the location until the day before the wedding. And so we got to the Airbnb and they had, right when you walked into the front door, they had this beautiful wall decoration that glimmered gold with the natural light, and this beautiful table that was an altar where we put our rings and my mom's ashes and the flowers, and we rearranged plants from the house, and it turned out so beautiful. So we had half of the ceremony inside, and then I really wanted to have a part of the ceremony outside. It was very hot outside when we were doing the ceremony. That's why we decided to do part of it inside with the AC. And then it just happened that there was this perfect quote unquote aisle that I could walk down through these beautiful jungle plants. Yes. And so I played one of my favorite songs and danced down the aisle. And then we finished the vow exchanging ceremony, the ring exchanging ceremony, and the kiss outside. And it could not have been a more beautiful backdrop, and hearing the birds, and just, I was barefoot, feet on the earth. It was so beautiful.
And the horses came, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, during the ceremony and right after as well, when we were taking pictures, there was these wild horses running full speed and playing.
Yeah, like
right.
puppies.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. Like puppies. And they're one of my favorite horses since, or one of my favorite animals since childhood. We used to have these wild horses on the backside of our property, and it felt as though they were blessing us with this wild horse playful energy. Yes. And the macaws flew over that day, and it was,
Yeah, we couldn't pay someone to play all this time, even if we want.
yeah, it was absolutely beautiful. And Zoar actually had always desired an intimate backyard wedding, and I just couldn't have pictured a more sacred, authentic to us, zero stress, in full trust. Everything fell into place. And I'm just so happy. And I wanted to share this story to inspire couples that you can create any ceremony that is truly meaningful and authentic to you, despite any pressure from anyone outside. It's really important for you to stay true to
It's your
yourself.
day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then we kissed and a song came on and we all danced and it was a group hug, and then we just celebrated for the next week and had an absolute blast going straight into our honeymoon. I absolutely loved, there was no logistics of traveling.
Yeah.
Just going straight, literally right after that. I stayed in my wedding dress. Zora changed into his just Maui'd shirt, and we just went and had a blast that night.
And every day the music just got better and better and better, and the artists became more and more unique.
Yes,
it's just beautiful to see.
it was. And the night before our wedding, one of our favorite DJs, Jay Poole, played an amazing set to kick off the whole week. So everything just felt so magical, and I'm so grateful.
Per usual.
Yeah. And then last night to experience Mystic Revival again was so,
yeah, in a church.
such a blessing. Yes, exactly. In this yoga studio that's in this old historic church. The acoustics were amazing. It was completely restored. It was all wood. It was so beautiful. And now we're gonna live happily ever after, my love. On our upward spiral journey forever and ever and ever. Okay. Thank you all for listening and tuning in. And I pray you have a blessed day.
Amen.